There's a headed your way. Keep your head up. You'll be okay. A beautiful day waiting for you. Just open your eyes. You'll see it's true. Good times, sunshine. Gonna be here in no time now. Bad times, gray skies. Push them all away, turn them upside down. You're gonna break new ground. Turn everything around. You're gonna live your life. There's a beautiful day headed your way. Keep your head up. You'll be okay. Beautiful day waiting for you. Just open your eyes. You'll see it's true. A beautiful day.
Alright, welcome back to the Booga Box. It's Small Project Wednesday. Tonight we're going to end up working on an inverted round nail. I've done it many times before, but I was looking through and realized I had no actual bracelets made in it. I've got several examples of things in my booth that use it, but I didn't have any bracelets left. I had done bracelets before, but notice I didn't have any, so that's what I'm going to work on tonight. I'm going to start with the larger one. If we get done with it, I'm going to get into a smaller version. So, for the most part, I'm going to go ahead and get on into it. I hope everybody's having a good week so far, into their Wednesday. It's been a hot week here. Getting some things done, but it's definitely been hot. So I hope everybody's having a comfortable week themselves, wherever you might be. And hopefully the internet doesn't give me any issues tonight. I haven't had any problems during my streams for a while, but as a whole house, for the most part, this past couple days actually has been having problems with the internet going out, and Spectrum saying they know they have a problem and it'll be back at a certain time. So hopefully we don't have any problems tonight. Seems to always happen more around 5 to 7. The other night we had it till said it'd be back at 10:30, so hopefully things go well enough that we don't have any problems during our stream tonight. So this is a fairly basic weave for the most part. I mean, it's pretty easy weave to make. You just kind of start with a 2, 1, 2, 1, like we're doing here, and then we'll connect them. And it kind of makes a little triangle. You got 3 of each, 3 double rings, 3 single rings. So there's my 3 doubles. Got the 2, and I'll use 1 more to connect these 2. I use this a lot in the dragon tails for my dragons. So you just want to make sure you got them all going the same direction, and then back through the first double pair. And so basically that's what you end up having, is just a little triangle of a double, single, double, single. And then what you end up doing is just taking the double ones and flipping them opposite directions. So you've got 3 going up, 3 going down, and then we start connecting those. So, like I said, it's a fairly simple weave. It was one of the first ones that I actually did when I was playing around long time ago. When I didn't know what names were of weaves. Get back on up there. It's a little floppity till you start getting it going, and what I kind of like about it is on my dragons I make it a graduated tail, so I start larger rings and work my way down to smaller. But in the larger rings you can actually make it captive, which means you just put another, once you get your 3, you put a ring inside there sideways and then fold it up on it, and from the side you'll see a ring in there. And that's what I do till I get down until it's too small to do for my dragon tails. And if you do them large enough, you can actually capture other things inside there. Marble, some type of ball, you can capture in there and just keep working it all the way like that. So once we get a little further, I'll kind of straighten it out and show you what it'll look like more once it's all together. Like I said, it's a little floppy at first, and closing them at the end of a bracelet or whatever you might be creating out of it can be a little bit of a problem sometimes. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you can get some other type of closures to end it off, but I normally just do it, since there's 3, I go down to 2, and then I go down to a single. It's a little not necessarily messy at the end, but it won't really have that shape for the whole thing. I mean, it will for the whole bracelet till you get to that very end part, and then it gets a little different right there at the very end. But on almost any type of bracelet, you know, once you get to the end, you know, some are better than others. And if you're making a small enough one, they actually got some tubish style clasps that you can put on them, but to do that you have to glue them in, and I hate gluing stuff in like that, just because eventually that glue could wear out, break off, whatever. Excuse me. And then, so, you know, then it's kind of there. So, I mean, even with chainmail itself, you can have the wire, the rings kind of open up on you from time to time, and might need to have a repair anyway. But, you know, I like some of the looks. Some people, I've seen some nice little dragon heads and stuff you can put on the ends, and they got some cool findings you can put on the end. But I just kind of like sticking with my basic here. You know, it works, so I just stick with it. But if somebody was wanting to have that on a custom piece, I'd be more than willing to do so. If you know, as long as if they're asking for something that's not too weird, per se, you know, it's something that I have somewhat confidence in. Like I said, there's been a few times that I've made pieces that I just didn't feel confident in. It's like, I just don't know if it's going to hold up, and I let them know that in advance, saying, you know, I just don't know how this is going to hold up. It's not something that I've done. You know, if I make it like this and a little bit bigger wire, rings and whatnot, I have, you know, I'd have a lot more confidence in it. It's just what you're asking for is just a little, could give you problems. So I let them know beforehand, and you know, some people change their mind and go with something that I have more confidence in, that will hold up for them. Other times they still want it, and it's like, you know, I'm just letting you know in advance that, you know, you have to take a little more care. Kind of like using fine silver. If you want it, I don't mind working with it, but I'll tell you, I really need to weld it, because fine silver is really soft and can open up easy on you. And I found that out by making pieces for the wife, and that's why I've always started since then. Any kind of silver I normally will weld up just for sturdiness. So that's basically how that one works. Let's see if I can get it closer here. That's kind of the look. We'll show it again once we get a little bit longer, but it, you know. And what I like about this, you can do it in different colors per row. You can do it in little groups and change to another color. You can go like have 3 different colors and kind of swirl them. This one on this one, the next row go over one, next row go over one, and keep working your way up. That can make some neat color combinations. This one I'm just going with standard color straight. The other smaller one I planned on doing that, and then I'm going to do a chunked one, like three rows of circles, and then change colors into another one. So I plan on doing 3 or 4 of these, maybe 5 before I'm done, before the weekend anyway. And like I said, I need to get some into my event stock, since I realized I didn't have any. And like I said, this is an older weave that I've done many times. But almost any weave now has become many times. Even some of the new ones that we've recently done on our Wednesday nights, I've gone back and made more of them. So just so I can get more confident, sometimes I've changed up the sizes of the rings. Other times I wanted to have some another variety of color. So let's just make sure everything's going good. Doesn't look like I have any droppage yet. So hopefully we'll have good internet tonight. And like I said, I want to thank everybody again for dropping in, watching us live, watching us later. I know we get a little group of people that like to watch live, other people will come back and watch the video later. So I do thank everybody for doing that. It's nice to have people showing up and stuff, but it's also good that people come and watch the videos later. I mean, you know, maybe you're working during this time and can't watch a live stream, so you catch it later. That's all fine. And if you have ever any questions and I'm not live, just go ahead and you can ask them, post them in the comment section of the video. I normally will see them, and if for some reason I don't, just send me a private message, email. I'm more than willing to help whatever I can with, especially if it's something I've done. If it's something that I'm unsure of, I can get you towards the right people. Though, if something I'm not sure about, I want to find out too, to be honest with you. If it's something I'm like, you know, I'll try to figure something out and try to figure that out myself too. So, always want to learn. Always trying to learn new things. That's why normally we pick a new weave on this night. There's still a lot of other weaves out there that I don't know. Some of them I will just say they're just really too weird. Don't look really good. They're more, I mean, they're kind of neat in a way, but some of them I just don't know if they would really be something that would sell as a bracelet or a necklace or something like that. Sometimes those weaves work better in different situations. So some of them kind of look like a jumbled mess. And then there are just some that are in such odd ring sizes that the AR is just so huge. Is normally I don't, you know, about the largest AR I get to is about 6.5, I believe. Haven't really gone much larger than that. I mean, I do have other rings that I've worked with that are large enough to be that AR, but I don't use them as a weave per se, where I'm using that same size ring all the way through. You know, I'm just using it as a center to hold things together, or you know, something like that. Just not as a weave like we're doing tonight. It's kind of like on Bracken Mail's his shield coasters. They use a 1-inch ring AR on that. It's got to be huge. I've never even looked, but you only use one of them, so it's kind of the center focal point of it, for the center of the shield. But you should go check out his. He's got a good tutorial if you're into making them. I do sell my own shield coasters that I've made from his tutorial. But if you're into making stuff, and you know, you should check them out. They're really neat. I've actually kind of went off the reservation once and made a set of steampunk styled coasters using the same premise, but I used gears instead of rings. Came out pretty well. There's pictures on my Facebook page of it. And I'm not sure if I actually have it on the website or not. I've still got work to do on that front. But this is actually a fairly quick weave, especially in this size ring. I'm using 1/4 inch 16 gauge. So it'll go by pretty quick. I've used larger, like I said, but then when I've done that, I normally make it as a captured inverted round. And that can take a little more time when you're basically, like I said, you got to hold these rings up, you put a flat ring in there, and you got to bring these up around it, and they kind of poke out each side, which is a cool look too, still. Don't get me wrong. I've done it before, and maybe I should do another one just to show. But it definitely takes a lot longer to build that way, because you got to close up that ring, get it in there. And normally it's like when you want it in there, you get 2 of what we're doing now. Like I've got 2 or 1 going. I'll put in a second one, then put that in and try to get the third one to close it up. And then you still got to be a little careful, because it can still pop out of there. So they can be finicky for sure. They can be a little pain in the butt, but they do give it a different look. And if you, like I said, if you go look at my dragons, you can look at the tail on my dragons, and you'll see how I did it. I think I doubled up on the larger ones, and I went down to single, and then I went down to none as I got smaller in my rings. down to the tip of the tail. So, yeah, now we got a little bit more. You can probably see it a little bit better. Actually, what camera are we on? I guess I'm over here now. I gotta make sure I get to the right camera. So it's a neat little weave. It can be, I mean, it's not real large. I'd probably say, yeah, it's under a ½ inch big around, so. But it's a nice little thing. Right now we're at just over 3 inches. And like I said, it won't take too long to get this one to the length we're going to need for the most part. Because it's just 3 per level. It's, like I said, pretty easy weave actually. In a way, I think it's actually easier than just European 4-in-1, which is kind of the starter weave that most people will start into chainmail doing. At least that's what I learned at the time. That's all I really knew about when I first started getting into chainmail. And it was later when I started kind of doing my own things, and I think I was actually working on a piece of 4-in-1, 20 some odd years ago, and kind of before the internet and all that, and I ended up closing it up. Instead of just continuing it out, I decided to put one more in and pull it up, and it ended up becoming what's known as box weave. At the time I had no idea it had a name. If anybody had actually done it at that point, I'm sure they have. I think box weave's been around for a long time, but you know, at the time when I first did it, it was like, hey, this is different, it's cool. Because for the first 15 years or so, I just kind of played with rings. Whatever I found, I'd make up. You know, if it was out of crap, just wire I found from tying type wire, galvanized steel wire, copper out of electrical wiring. Used up several coat hangers. You know, I just kind of coil up whatever I could find and just start messing with the rings. And you know, again, that was before I knew of AR and different sizes doing different things. And you know, didn't realize there was a whole little world out there that I was kind of working in, but just didn't apply it to and learn about it till later on. Like I said, for the first 20, I guess it would have been about 21 years or so of doing chainmail. It was just more of a play, hobby thing, just kind of whatever. And a lot of stuff got tossed out at the time, you know, because it was just all crap wire and whatever I could find. And then when I started really getting into it and starting looking and noticing there was things online and manufacturers of rings and all that, and then it got me hooked even more. And that's when I decided, you know, I'm having fun with this. Let's see if I can make it a business. And we've been doing the business now for about 7-8 years. I know the first time I really bought any rings to make something was for Christmas one year. That was kind of it was the first time I actually bought colored rings and specific rings to do a certain thing, and I ended up enjoying it a lot, and I made a few other things, and it was within 6 months I was already ordering tons of rings, and it was time to make it a business, because I just wanted to keep going, keep learning, apply what I already knew, learn new terminology to what I had given names to. Like I said, I didn't know box weave was called box weave at the time. When I first, I knew I probably didn't come up with it at the time. It was just, you know, not knowing anything at the time and realizing, you know, I didn't even really give it a name. It was just like, oh, this is a weave. And at that time I didn't even know to really actually call them weaves, to be honest with you. It was just, it's just another thing I'd done. Yep. And I do want to thank everybody that's made orders over the last couple months. I might have to start saying 3 or 4 months pretty soon. I guess I'll just have to stop that and just say thanks for the orders. It's been great getting them. Definitely keeping me busy, and definitely enjoy it. The more orders I get, the more stuff I can get to make things for y'all. I'm going to have a couple new tutorials coming out if you're into making chainmail. I'm going to have a few free ones that come along with a couple kits. Just because they're kind of a standard, but I wanted to put my own little twist on them, and then to offer them in the kits. And then I'm going to have some that you buy separately, and I'm hoping to have kits to go along with it too, but you can use and buy your own rings for it. So you can get the tutorial and then get what you need to build it. Or again, like I said, I'm hoping to have some kits available. So you can just order the whole kit and caboodle and get you a kit, get you the instructions, and then everything comes to you and off you go. Again, that's if you're into building them. If you join us and you're not into doing chainmail but enjoy kind of seeing it and like the look of it, you can buy finished pieces too. That's kind of my main thing, has always been selling finished pieces. So I mean, I don't want to necessarily get away from that, but you know, I like offering other things out to other mailers too, you know. I've kind of put some things off for quite a while at times, just because I want to make sure I'm good with what I'm doing, especially if I'm going to sell a kit and tutorial. And I've thought about putting together some basic kits too for, you know, starter people, starting to just get into chainmail, give you some simpler weaves, where I'd make up my own tutorial for it, but there are plenty of free tutorials out there to learn from that, you know, if I was just to put together a 4-in-1 weave, but it'd give you just the rings you need to build just that. So you don't have to go out and buy them in bulk, but you still get good rings. Because you can go out, there are a lot of places out there that sell rings that are just crap rings. I mean, they're okay, but you know, sometimes using cheap rings and it doesn't look good when you're done, it kind of puts you off, and maybe, you know, people have dropped out of doing chainmail because of that. So I want to get, you know, small, easy kits going so people can try it, get decent rings to go with it, and have a better go at it, and then decide if, you know, if you want to continue, you can start buying them more in bulk from the regular manufacturers that are around out there. But at least, you know, you don't have to buy several bags of this and that to get a color that you want, and then have a lot of leftovers per se if it's not something you're sure about wanting to do. I mean, you'll probably still have leftovers, because all my kits, I always try to include more than what's needed in case you have a screw up, mess up the ring. And if you've done chainmail or start into it, you're going to lose a ring every now and again. They come flying out of here. With the aluminum, less likely to have them come popping out of your pliers. But you know, and when I first started, I just used regular pliers and would mar them up like crazy. When I first started doing it as a business, I definitely got me some better pliers, but they were still cheap. To be honest, I got cheap sets from Harbor Freight that were didn't have any teeth on the jaws, so they did what they needed to do. They were cheap enough, and you know, I had to do some sanding and filing to them to get them so they wouldn't mar up the rings, but they worked for me for a little while. And then, you know, that's what's nice about it. You can start like that and then work your way up. Now I have nice, more expensive pliers, several sets of pliers, depending on what I'm working on. I'll change. These are my favorite by far. If I can work with these, I normally do. Montronics pliers, stub-nosed. I've got some longer ones with longer tips on them, and then I got some Xerons that I use that are real small tips if I'm going to use 20 gauge, and you know, down to, I normally use those for 5/32 if it's a tight weave. I'll use those. I can use these still with 5/32. I don't have a problem with that normally. But then if I go smaller, I need a smaller tipped plier. And then if you want to go to stainless steel, niobium, titanium, then I've got my bigger jawed pliers. And with stainless steel, you can use ones with teeth. You almost want to use some with teeth so you can really get a hold of them to get their closures together. Because you really got to... Because when you're closing these up, if you've not done it, you're always kind of manipulating your closure. You're kind of forcing it together as you're moving back and forth, but you got to be careful and move in unison, or then you get what they call a pringling effect, where your ring will end up getting a little bow in it. I guess I need to get a little lower now. I'm on this other camera. And then if you're pushing heavy with one arm, one hand, as you're trying to push together, sometimes you can get sixing, where the top of your ring closure up here, where you just closed, it's lower and higher than the other one. Some of that can be because of the rings. The supplier of the rings, sometimes that's their issue. If they're not quite cut right and stuff like that, can throw all that off. But most of it is user, and you kind of get used to it after a while, how you want to apply your pressures, how you grab your rings, because you want to try to grab your rings and have a good meat bite on them, but enough that you can still manipulate them without marring them up. Because and then it depends on the metal you're working with. Aluminum's fairly soft, so you got to be a little careful with it. But after you've done it for a little while, most people kind of get used to how much force. And then there's still others that they do make pliers that have a sleeve that goes over the tips of the plier, a nylon tip. Others will use like a plastic dip to dip their tips in and give them a coating. I've seen people use electrical tape. Those kind of put a little piece of electrical tape in there, and all that they all do their job and can work. But the thing is, the nylon tips I did have actually a set of those early on, and I just did not care for them. It made my rings want to slip out so badly. I guess the best thing would be to have pliers specifically made for every individual sized ring, because then it could sit in a groove and you wouldn't have any marring at all, no matter how much kind of pressure you applied for the most part. But that would get expensive, especially with how many different ring sizes you could possibly ever use. The plastic dips and stuff, I had some again early on, but I ended up having a waste of it because I didn't get my lid on quite tight enough, and I didn't need it as often, so it ended up drying out on me. That kind of hacked me off. And I did do the electrical tape one too. It was just constant, wearing. The tape would actually start sliding a bit around on the metal after a little while. So they all work. It's just a matter of what your preference is. But like I said, after you get used to it for a while, it normally becomes less and less of a problem. The more rings you actually do, you'll have less and less of an issue on marring up your rings. And having good pliers, like I said, taking the edge off of them. That's what the cheap ones from Harbor Freight. And I had to file down my edges because they just kind of had more sharp edges. These don't quite close. If you close them off that flat, tight, you get a little bit of gap in here. So really, it's about like probably like a 20 gauge ring could fit in there, and you get a nice evenness. If you go larger like we're doing now, let me show how they're more open. I don't know if this camera is really picking it up, but it's wider at the tip than it is at the joint. But they also do offer parallel pliers. I've got a few of those that basically they open the same distance from tip to jaw to the bottom. They're open all the same. Let me go ahead and pull these out. So when they close evenly across the whole thing. And I do like these. They're heavier. I haven't had them for actually very long. I think I've only had these for about 3 months, 4 months. And I'll use them on occasion. It's just a different hand feel. I've done so many years with Micronics, so that's kind of what I like to feel better in my hand. So that's kind of why I go with them more often if I can. But yeah, there are a different variety of pliers, all kinds of, tips, bent tips, just a huge variety of different ones you can get. So that's where we're at here so far. I need to give me a quick measure. I don't want to go too much further before I start closing up and putting my... let me go ahead and grab a clasp while I'm thinking about it. I didn't pull one out beforehand, so I'll get a clasp out and have it ready. Like I said, we don't have too many more. Each one of these is probably making it, I wouldn't say quite a quarter. I mean, these 1/4-inch rings on the inside, so they're bigger on the outside than a 1/4-inch, but once you add them to the other one, they kind of get close to a 1/4-inch, but not quite. So this one will definitely be finishing up pretty soon. Where are we at here so far? 30 minutes in, so yeah, we'll definitely get into the next one. I'm going to use a smaller ring, smaller gauge, still the same AR as this one, and then I'll put back up there. If we actually get done with that one too, I'll go ahead and get started. I did actually start on it earlier, and I was going to have it as my main one, but I wanted to start the weave in the stream too, so I kind of put it to the side after I got, I don't know, 6, 8-ish, 9-ish chunks, 8, somewhere in there. I decided, well, let me go ahead and just grab a solid color and start. I want to be able to start from the beginning. Sometimes I'll get a pre-start done before the stream if it's one that I think I might not have enough time for, but I was like, I know this weave's easy, quick. I know I'd finish it up during the stream, so I wanted to kind of start it from scratch. So we might get to that one too. Now obviously the smaller rings will take a lot longer to get towards our length that we need, but I'll kind of see how that goes. Let's see here. 7.5. If I add 1, 2, we'll do one more row and then I'm going to close it. Start putting on my finals. Like I said, for the final ones I just go 2. I'll put this one through 2. And then I'll have 2 off of it, and then I'll put a single one through it. So we'll probably, well, actually this is about a 1/2 inch round, so I might actually go 2 more rows because it's being round. And you can hear the kitty cat. This is what she sounds like when she comes in with a outside item. Mostly a mole. She'll come in making this weird, loud meow, and she got one of her play mice. She caught her play mice, so she freaks me out. I knew it had to be a play one because I was like, the door's shut. She didn't. She's been in, so she didn't go out and catch something. So she must have one of her play mice. She'll do that on occasion when she's playing with her play mice, and she just makes this weird. Because normally her meows are all nice and soft, and then when she gets an animal brung in, that's the sound. If I hear that coming, I know she's got something outside that she shouldn't have. Mole. She's caught a few birds. Luckily, she's not a huge bird getter. Moles are her forte. Buzz's forte was snakes for the longest time. We must have had a den back over in the back of the yard somewhere that... And rabbits we've had. He's had a few rabbits through the years. But he's kind of caught a little bit of everything through the years. Drives me nuts. Most of them end up living. His mama, she was definitely a hunter, but she went to kill and eat. He more went to catch to play. So he liked to bring him to me on occasion. He would hurt him, which drove me a little nuts, but I mean, luckily he doesn't go out as much anymore. And the moles, I mean, I hate to see, killing moles, but man, they are tearing up the yard. So in a way, I don't mind her catching them. It sounds kind of cruel, but they were just tearing up the yard. They still do. It's not as bad since she's been out there kind of flushing out the new babies, so there's less. But they still have a good portion of holes at different times of the year. So see, we went 2. Now we're just going to go into 1. And I'll put my clasp on there. So that's the end of that one. Then we'll come back and do the 2 and 1 on the other end. Depending on the length, sometimes I might add 2 singles on the very end just to give it a little more length, and so it's a little more noticeable for whoever might buy it, because sometimes weaves you can get right up to the edge and you don't want to have extra rings on there, but then they get confused. Well, and I say that more because the wife has on occasion. She's like, you did something weird here at the end. It's not, after she clasped them together, and I'm like, well, because you didn't clasp it onto the right ring. So I want to try to make it noticeable, so you grab the correct one. I think that was on candy cane cord. I think is the one that she got confused on. So let's see, this might actually end up being a little shorter than 8 inches. We'll see once I kind of get the feel. Actually, it's pretty close, surprisingly. It's got some movement. It's a little tight. I mean, if I really wanted to tighten this up, that's about, I don't want to start pressuring it and bending rings, but so it's got some structure to it in this size. Larger you go, the more floppy it can be. And if you go smaller, you get real tight, where it's more of a structural piece. So yeah, I ended up about 7.5 on this one. I was kind of thinking it might be a little bit. I didn't take into quite the bigness and everything of it, but that's basically that. Like I said, it's kind of a tightish weave. When it's straight, it's a little more pliable. When you start getting curves in it, it's a little less pliable. But it's still a nice weave. Like I said, I've used it before in many aspects of things. And if you go, like I said, larger, you can put more captures in there. If you go even bigger, you can put small balls and marbles, smaller marbles in there. I can't say that too much. My cat will think I'm talking to her. Real quick though, I am going to add one more onto this so it'll take me up just a little bit more and be more noticeable. I mean, in all reality, it'll maybe take me up to 7 3/4, but it'll make it more noticeable that that's the end. So that's that one. So next I'm going to actually use some 3/16 18 gauge, and I'm going with champagne colored in this. In the video it probably will look more silver or dirty silver in a way, but it's a champagne. It's kind of like a light bronze-ish color. I mean, they call it champagne because I guess it kind of looks like a translucent champagne in a way. It's I haven't used it a whole lot in things, but I have used it. I actually use it more in my fall mixes. I'll use the champagne, a bronze, some reds and oranges, and it kind of makes a nice little mix in with it. Grabbing a drink real quick. So we'll move you on up out of the way here. And even though they're smaller, you basically just still start it the same way. I'm going to go ahead and probably just put 4 raws and come in and close them all. And then closing, pre-closing. And I've actually made these with square wired rings too. You have to normally go up in your size. Like if I was going to do this version in square, 1/4 inch square rings just wouldn't work. The AR, there's no real, I don't know if there's a way to calculate the AR on square rings. I just know that if I use square rings, the AR is smaller than what the equivalent rounds would be. So I would have used 5/16 inch square rings to do it with. But like I said, they can work and they still look cool with the square rings. I kind of like messing with the square rings on occasion. I use them more in my wall hanging parts because you get better flat. But I have used them in, that's what I actually made my jersey out of, was square rings. I want it to be a little tighter that way. Could have went smaller ring and round, but the squareness gives you different kind of feel. So that's why I ended up going that route. I believe I did that with the Chiefs flag also. Mahomes I went with round rings, but the Chiefs flag I ended up using square also. Again, just so the stretch wasn't as big. You have to kind of manipulate your picture a little bit more that you're starting with to compensate for there being less stretch in it. when you go to hang it. And I pretty much figured out what I like on my percentages on that, so. And then if you want to do the same thing around, you can. You just have to again take into account the stretch of it, and you'll actually use less ring or more rings per se on something like that, just because of the stretch. You'll get more of a stretch on it. Depends on what you're going for. If you're looking for a full top and bottom stretch and even that way, or do you want a full gravity stretch the proper way, or go what they call wrong way, is where it stretches down and it's more open between the rings. If you turn that 90 degrees, then your stretch is different with gravity. So, and that's what I normally do. I'll have it the wrong way, is what they call it, for my ties. Some of my open 4-in-1 ties that ladies seem to like more. Just kind of opens them up and everything like that. The fellas seem to like more of a tighter one, where everything's more, you know. And I'll still build them that way. I just normally go smaller rings, so there's just not as big of an opening. And then I've done ties the right way also, so they're real tight together per se with gravity portion of it. But they use a ton more rings and take a lot more time. So, all right. So now we've got our 3, 3, and 3. And so I just need to get my up ones to flip up and my down ones to flip down, and off we go. After you let go of it, kind of defeated that purpose, but making sure you're getting the proper ring, and I know which one to flip back up, because you've got a hold of 2 already. So, like I said, this one's just going to be a solid champagne all the way up. And then the other one I'm going to do actually 3 colors, just off and on, changing the color every 3. And then I'm going to do another one, probably the other one's going to be a bigger one, and then the other one I'm going to use smaller rings like this, and then I'm going to try to do the spiral effect to it. So I can post pictures of that and show you the look of moving every ring, you know, here, then this one, then the backside one, and then it up, you know. So it just kind of almost gives you that spiral effect. And that's what I'll do in this size ring. I don't know what colors I want to use yet. That's always my problem, picking colors. What do I want to use? At least I guess when I do stainless steel, I normally don't have to worry about colors too much. It's all going to be the same. You can't pick colors there. But then you go to niobium and titanium, then you're back to picking colors again. What color do I want it to be? Oh, I guess at least there's less colors involved on that, because you can only get so many, and some colors you can't necessarily get in niobium and titanium. Reds, oranges. You can get closest to reds and oranges with a little, you know, gold twings to them. But you just can't get a nice solid red, which always been a bummer for me, because like I said, red and gold, that's normally what I go with. Those are my normally go-to colors when I can't decide, but I'm ready to build. Red, gold, I grab. And I normally have extra red and gold on hand just because of that. I'm going to check around real quick. Looks good on the stream side. Don't see any chats anywhere, so comments. Like I said, you guys don't need to comment. I'm just glad to have anybody here. It looks like I have a few floating around between all the Twitch, YouTubes, and Facebook. But it's all good. Sometimes I don't know if the wife is watching or not, but she used to at first when I first started doing them. She's kind of gotten less in there now. You know, like I said, everybody's got their own things they need to do. You can come back and watch them later. And which she does sometimes when I'll show her something after the stream's over. You know, I'll show her what I was doing, and then sometimes she'll go back and end up watching the stream. She ended up going back and watching the stream for the Purple Moon. She liked it, and so she ended up going back and watching the streams for it as I built it. Monday we'll actually be getting into another wall hanging. I don't want to say what it is yet. It's a pre-made outer ring, I will say that. something I was thinking about doing myself. It would have been a little more difficult than it was to make the moon ring. But I'm also going to get some more moon rings and do another, as I'm halfway tempted on doing a tutorial for it. So I need to, like I said, before I do that kind of thing, I like to test it 3 or 4, sometimes even more times, to see if I'm going to like it. It works multiple times. When it comes to bigger outer rings, even if they're round or, moon shaped, they can vary. They're never, I bought at one point in time, I had 50 4-inch rings I bought from a main supplier, TRL, and there was actually a difference of 3/16 between the smallest and the largest one. That's not right. There we go. So I mean, there can be a difference between them, and that's one thing I didn't like about theirs, because I would put together a wall hanging of it, and I'd go to do it the exact same way, and that's when I started measuring them. I didn't really think about measuring them beforehand. I just figured they were all 4 inches. And then I went to make another one exactly the same, using just different colors this time. In color, sometimes rings can be slightly different, but not as much as I was noticing when I started working on the second wall hanging in the same layout. And I was like, well, there's just something weird here. And that's when I decided to measure the rings, and I was like, there were several that were, right at 4, then there was a little group under, a little group over, and then there was the few at the very ends of the spectrum. So when I took the largest ring and measured it, and then measured my smallest ring out of all those 50 I got, there was a 3/16 inch difference between the two. So I had to kind of go through and pull out the larger and smaller ones and put them to the side. I ended up using them in other projects, but if I want to recreate the same thing, they weren't going to work. And, I've noticed that any manufacturer, you're going to have some variation. There's tolerances that they have. As long as they're fairly close, normally you're good. But when they start getting way off sometimes, and they just don't work that way. The phone up there. So yeah, this one will definitely take a little longer because of the smaller rings, but you'll still get the same feel and look of it, since it's the same AR as the other one. Oh, what camera are we on now? Over here. So, still the same, like I said, just definitely smaller. My hand's in the way. My arm's in the way. I couldn't see where I was on the camera. And who knows, like I said, I might end up making a couple with captured rings in it, so I'd have to go to a larger ring size for that, but definitely gives it a different look. Get the same basic structure, but a different overall feel when you have the inner parts. Got a big old group here that are all stuck together. I hate the double stucks. Even though that was more of an octo stuck. Normally I don't have that many in this size ring. If I get down to 20 gauge now, that's a different story. 20 gauge, boy, those things will stick together like nothing else. You breathe on them just right, next thing you know, there's a bunch stuck together. But I mean, the ring size is smaller, so they can slip together a lot simpler, easier, I guess. Let's see here. Tomorrow we will be working back onto the chessboard. I'm past halfway now, just a little bit. I did get some time in it on Friday night. I ended up hanging out with a group of other chainmailers and a marble. You're knocking stuff over. But while we were kind of working in there, they do a live video type thing with multiple people, like a Zoom, but it wasn't through Zoom. That was my first time doing it. It was kind of neat and interesting, but I was able to get more time in on that on the chessboard, so that was kind of nice in a way. But that was really all extra time I got into it was then, because the rest of the weekend I was doing pictures, trying to do some updates to the website. Still didn't get... I got some of the updates on the back side done, but nothing that's really viewable to the front side, which was what I was hoping for. So like I said, I've been trying to add a gallery into that, so a picture gallery, so you can see some of the more one-off things that I do still have pictures of. Like I said, I lost a lot of pictures a couple years ago now, and that really is a bummer that I just won't be able to get back. But, you know, all I can do is move forward. Things like that happen, and when you can back up, and I thought I was backing up, but I went through that whole spiel before, but now I verify my backups on occasion. Normally at first I was doing it every other day, now I'm doing it about once a week. Just kind of making sure that everything's working properly. And now the program will also let me know if, well, before I actually forgot to put that certain drive into the backup thing. You tell it what drive you want to back up, where you want to back it up, blah blah blah. I thought I had it all put in there properly, but I guess I didn't save the configuration for that. So it was actually backing up all my other, at the time I had 4 drives, and it was backing up 3 of them, and because I didn't have the 4th one set into the specs of the backup. Now I'm backing up 6 drives every day. Every early morning I got it set up to do the backups on that. And then I verify to make sure everything's in where it's supposed to be, like I said, once a week. And hopefully if I ever have another hard drive failure, I won't have picture loss again. It did happen to me one other time years and years and years ago, back when I just had I think it was a 766 or 733 or something like that. It was an old, before gigahertz were around. It was an old E-machine. Don't know if you ever heard of E-machines, but they were a thing back then. And it was an okay computer. It was actually one of the first ones I bought, because before that we had a used one that we'd gotten. It was an old 333 megahertz system. Basically, you could do email. And you know, mostly at that point in time, it was just kind of more like a little game machine to play some card games and blah blah blah. Nowadays, I just build my own systems. This is my main computer now. It's probably my 6th or 7th computer that I've built through the last 10 to 15 years. I don't remember when. I guess when we first moved here 17 years ago, we bought a Dell, and that was the last Dell. It was a dual core at the time. Fresh, kind of a new dual core at the time, and that was the last computer we actually bought. The rest of them I built. I'll normally build me mine, and when I end up going to build another one, and then the family would get the other ones. But now phones, wife can pretty much do everything she would want to do on a computer on her phone. She's not into heavy doing too many things, but she does help me build my Excel files and stuff like that. If I need Excel stuff done, she'll get on the desktop. So she ends up getting my older desktops to do that kind of thing whenever I build a new one. I'm kind of ready to build a new one, but this one's still doing good. I mean, it's quad core. It's the i5, i7. Was it a K6700, I think? And they have some newer ones out there, but they're still pretty expensive, which it'd be nice to have. But, this one's doing the job. It's, it's about 2.5, 3 years old now. And like, do I really want to replace it when it's doing the job? I could improve and get a better one. How much will it really improve on what I actually use it for is the big thing. And, mostly if I just put in a new graphics card, which I've done in this one twice. Well, once, I guess. I had the other ones I used from my old system in it, then I bought a new ones, but they just weren't quite as powerful enough as I wanted. Then I bought another set. Well, first time it was one, then last time I put in a dual GPUs to help with video processing. So and they work out well. They get me what I need to get done pretty fast. Laptop though, yeah. So I need to get me another laptop that's a little more powerful, but you know, 'cause my phone actually, when I did this thing last Friday with the group of chainmailers videoing, my laptop just wasn't up to this power it needed to be able to do that, but my phone could. I don't know. Could be partially I need to figure more out. This is my main desktop. I still run Windows 7 on. This laptop runs Windows 10, and so I don't know all the tweaks and bells and whistles that help Windows 10 run better. I'm sure there's probably many settings in there, but that could change and help all that. So I mean, it could be some of that, not just necessarily the laptop itself. But I'm just more used to dealing with Windows 7. I like it much better than 10. And maybe it's just because I need to play with 10 more, and then I would understand Windows 10 better and get the right settings needed. With 7, Windows 7, I know I've used it for so long. I know all my programs that work well on it. I know how to tweak it to do what I want it to do and get good performance out of it. So, but eventually I will have to go, and I know it'll, you know, I loved 7 when it came out. I did not care for 10. I tried it, but I did not like it at all when it first came out. Now I'm using the laptop more and more, and in the ways I like it, but again, you need to learn all its little tweaks. So eventually I have to learn all that, because there'll be another Windows something or other coming out at some point. You know, they'll upgrade again. And I'll have to eventually go up at least up to 10, if not to the new. Not necessarily into the new. It seems like more new stuff has so many problems to begin with. I'd rather give it a few years. It's kind of like the PlayStation 5 that's out. It's like, well, one, you can't even get the stupid things. That's, you know, beside the point. Even then, there are things on it that you just would have to relearn. There are still some things I actually miss from my old PS3 compared to my PS4. One thing I really liked about the PS3, depending on the game, you could insert your own music from your hard drive. So if there's a couple racing games that I had where you could tell it to pick the music you wanted from what you had installed on the hard drive, so you could listen to your own music, and that was one of the cool things. I was able to do that with several games. PS4, when I got it, and I haven't had it very long. I know I was late to the punch with the PS4, but I just ended up getting it in this past January. Anyway, one of the first things I did, I had a game that I'd played on the PS3 many times, and you could pull your own music over. And now there's that, you know, and then I went and read that that's just not an option you can do on the PS4, and I was like, what? That was the coolest thing about the PS3, so I do miss things about that. So I know eventually when I move to PS5, there'll probably be things from the PS4 I miss. But they always like to change things up. That was like tonight, actually, starting up the stream tonight. I was a little hacked in a way. Facebook changed up the way they do it again. You used to be able to go through and get basically all your settings in Facebook up till when you wanted to go live without having to worry about anything. You know, you just went through and, you know, you're using a stream key, okay, blah, 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 set up your description, blah, blah, blah. Now, before you can do any of that, it wants you to connect your software to streaming. And I'm like, that's kind of a bummer if you're like using a restreamer type system where you're having to go to one, because once you go there, it normally goes straight up live. That's kind of, you know, when you start the stream and you're only streaming to Facebook, that's all fine, because you click the program, say start streaming, and then Facebook sees it, and then you start the actual stream in Facebook. YouTube and Twitch don't work that way. When you start your stream, it pretty much goes live right then. So when I got to that point, I was like, I had to start up the streaming software so that it would recognize before it even let me get through the first 3 pages of setting up a stream for Facebook. And luckily I was able to shut off the stream after I got to the point of readiness, and because I normally start pre-doing everything around 7 o'clock, half an hour before I start the stream, and get it set up with, you know, all the settings and descriptions and all that, and then it's just a matter of clicking go. And yeah, it was just definitely different tonight. It drove me a little bonkers. What did I do there? I put that one. Yeah, what did I don't know how I did that, but at least it's an easy fix, I guess. Let me double check. Yeah, I went through the two wrong ones. Smaller it gets, the worse, the more times, I guess not worse, but you can more likely grab the wrong rings, especially when you're working further away. And I'm on this other camera right now, so I'm trying to, with it, I have to get a little further away and make sure I stay further down so that it's in the camera view. Until we flip other cameras again. Well, the other one took us about half an hour, a little bit, probably right around a half an hour to do the 1/4 inch one. This one's definitely going to take a bit longer. Where are we at now? We're up to an hour. So we've been into this one about 25 minutes, I guess, probably. By the time we got to done talking and showing and all that good stuff. Oh, now we're back to the top view. I was off by 10 minutes there. The top view, I can kind of get a little back closer to myself. I guess if you watch the little corner cameras, though, during it, you probably won't see as much, but I need to try to do a setup where I can have the camera basically right at my chest level, pointing straight out, so I can get some better close-ups to do some more. I want to do a few tutorial type videos with some basic waves to start with. But you definitely have to have it pretty tight, camera angles up to it, so you can see what's going on, so you can do some pointing out and stuff. With the camera setups I got now, you can kind of see it if I get closer, but, you know. Grab me a drink real quick. So, let's see, how long do we have on this one? You know, just over 4 inches, so, well, I guess we're probably halfway then. By the time I'd add on my clasps and ends to it. Well, let me check over here. We've got a few viewers between Twitch and YouTube, so thanks for watching over there on Twitch and YouTube also. I think I've still got one on Facebook too, so thank y'all again for dropping in and checking us out. Marble, babe, you need to wait. You need to wait. She can get a little impatient. I think she's ready to go back outside now, but I don't want to get up and let her out right now. At least the boys being good, they're not fighting. I guess that's about the only good thing going on. They're not fighting. She keeps yelling though and talking like that. It's going to get him up. He's probably sitting under my desk. He likes sitting at my feet on my desk or right out. Stupid cat though, I swear. I've got a rolling, desk chair. It's where I spend most of my time in. If I'm ever sitting down, it's normally in my desk chair doing stuff on the computer. If not, I'm over here on this one, but anyway, it's got the 5, legs that come out. And he likes to plop down in between those underneath me, and I don't notice, I try to always check before I kind of move major positions of the chair to make sure I won't run him over. But on occasion still, he'll get down there and I don't notice, and I'll go move the chair a little bit, and he jumps up hissing like, "What'd you do that for?" Well, just go sit at my feet. Which he normally does, and down there it's alright. And there's occasionally I'll kick him down there though too. I'll forget. But I'm always moving around. Like I said, I have a hard time sitting down for any real length of time. My butt gets sore after too long, so I'm normally up standing doing things. And like when I'm doing these streams, I'm normally sitting down, so after I get done with the stream, the next couple hours of weaving, I'm standing up doing my weaving. Because I don't have to worry about the camera. I can kind of move over this way, I'll move over this way. You need a helmet eyepiece viewer to have it work on tandem with a streaming window, but needs some anti-bob software running. Yeah, that would be cool. I have my my Faux Pros. I've got a chest mount for it, and well, and I do have a hat mount for it too and stuff. That I have used, but the movement around is just kind of crazy. And good to see you, John. And I thought about trying to do that. I think if I was at a different desk, I could mount it right on my chest area, right in front of me, and be able to zoom in. Because I've got a good 4 inches between me and the desk that I could put a mount there that wouldn't stick out very far. But my table, my bench here, there's not enough room to clamp to unless I go down about 2 inches, 3 inches. And then there's still a drawer in the way, so it's kind of giving me issues trying to put one up on the front side. Because I do have me another adapter for another HDMI to the computer. If I decide to ever add another camera, I just need to figure out how to mount it in front of me, and I just haven't figured it out on this desk yet. And that's why, like I said, I want to get me a different desk anyway that I can do streaming from. In a way, I'll probably hate it just because right now I know where everything's at right here. If I go to a different table to do streaming, I gotta make sure I bring everything with me, or I'll have to run off to grab stuff. Don't necessarily want to do that either, so. But I was thinking about doing that. If I got another table, it'd be kind of the other half of the basement, so it'd be actually in a different room. I'd have to figure out how I would do that and adjust, but I'm sure I could. But again, that's still going to be a while out, I'm sure. Welding 16 Argentium and listening, trying to do more working. Have a cell phone car mount flex arm for my camera mount. Yeah, it's kind of what I'm using on my side camera up here, but the other one I've made my own mount above here that actually works pretty well. I can adjust it up and down within my little brace things that I printed out for those. Got about 8 inches of play, and I can drop it down an inch and get even closer. But there, when I'm working on my larger inlays, I want them to actually be further away so I can get more of a wide angle. And then I actually throw on the wide angle lens too whenever it comes to that. I had seen a picture. I was like, why is he showing me sink parts? I thought it was a P-trap for a second. So I got a little closer. Yeah, I guess it's different than what I have on the side camera, but if it would hold a Faux Pro, I guess that would probably be the only thing. Because I could use another Sony one down here, but the Sonys are going to be bigger. I probably need to use the battery with it, which makes it even bigger and sticking out. So one day I will test it once I get all my other stuff caught up that I need to get done. Want to get done. Got a lot of stuff planned for the next few months I need to get done. And I know I'm going to be super busy with all the band stuff too, so it's like, I need more days and time. I need 29 hours in a day, and add another day to the week would be nice. But then again, if I did that, I'd find something to fill it with anyway, so I'd be back to starting back at the start, having the same problem I already have. Not enough time to do everything. Yeah, I was watching some of your quick videos that you had the other day of your captured things. They were cool. They're knocking around, they wouldn't fall out. I was like, those are sweet, nice and tight. A quick drink. Alright. Get some more on here. We might. Where's that at? Hour and 8. Where are we at? We're about 5.25. We might get this one finished up in the stream. Hopefully we do, I guess. We already got one done, so I guess at least I'm happy with that. But I'd like to get this one done also. get it done and out of the way, get on working on the different colored ones. I'll definitely get 2 more done tonight, well, at least 1 more for sure, but I'm hoping I can get 2 more done later. Though I do need to get back to the computer and work on this other small tut. I've only got a little bit more to do to finish up on this one. And then the major one that's still working on getting pictures done for, but I've been trying to leave it on the weekend so it doesn't get involved in either laser days. Whenever, like I said, I do Tuesdays and Fridays during the day, because Tuesday, Friday nights I normally have stuff to do now that band season's back, but during the day I like to do any laser work that I need to get done. If I got laser orders, those are the 2 days I normally plan on doing those. So the weekend has been left to getting my tutorials written, getting pictures done for it. I guess that's probably the hardest part, is getting the pictures, getting decent pictures. As I don't know how many times I'll take pictures and then I need to go put them on the computer to see, is this got the good enough lighting, can I see what's going on, retake pictures. So I have to do everything in little short bits, other than just working through and building whatever I'm building. I have to do the parts and get pictures. And I screwed up one time before on this little one that I'm working on. I went ahead and finished up the piece and then realized all these pictures ended up sucking. So I had to build it again, which was all fine because I wanted to anyway. So I got a little lucky, but so now I'm trying to make sure I've got good pictures now before I continue on, so I don't have to remake it over and over and over again. I don't want to take it apart to take it back to that point. Easiest thing's normally just to restart. If I get too far, I gotta remind myself, stop here, don't keep going, you're gonna screw up again and have to do it again. There's that one, okay. Just making sure I got them all up there. You know, something I've never really done on this, just because I screwed that up earlier. If I went to a bigger size, I wonder what a kinged. I've never actually looked for it. I'm sure somebody's done a kinged inverted round, but now I'm kind of wondering what that would look like. Couldn't do it in this ring size, or it would not, and become way too tight. I wouldn't be able to fit everything through, but these bigger rings, I don't know. I've actually never tried doing this kinged. I do a lot of things I'll try king just to see what they look like. And then there's some out there that are just already kinged to begin with. KBB. I think KBB looks better than just Piper Burris myself. But everybody's got their own likes. So it kind of makes me wonder, either I'm going to have to look it up and see what it looks like, or I'm just going to build it. Because I'm sure somebody at some point is keen to inverted round. I mean, somebody's had to have. I don't see how they wouldn't have. I've just never seen it. Well, like I say, I do like looking around at stuff, and I can spend hours looking at pictures, but I also try to keep away from that because I don't want it to influence. You can get ideas, but I also don't want it to influence some ideas. So I kind of, it's one of those love-hate relationships with looking at chainmail pictures. I love looking at them, but in a way I hate it because I don't want it to taint any thoughts I might have. But in a way, you know, if you thought you came up with something new, and you got to look up and try to see if you found it, and then you find out, oh, it's not new, somebody's done it, type thing. Which is all fine still too, but if I find it's one that somebody's done and has got a tutorial for it, then I have to go find whoever does that tutorial and buy it. Even though I know how to do it, that's just kind of, before I like to sell anything, I like to kind of buy people's tutorials, even if I figured it out, either one on my own, or two, I just did it not realizing somebody else had already done it. But there have been several weaves out there that I've looked at the pictures, or I've seen the pictures, didn't realize there was a tutorial for it, and, you know, just playing around, figuring out what's needed to end up making it. And then once I do find out that somebody makes a tutorial for it, I try to go get it from them, just so I just feel more comfortable in getting it before I end up selling any of those items. Which none of those type things I'd be able to do on the stream per se, because I'd hate to give away ring sizes and whatnot. Because I do on occasion. I don't always tell what I'm working on, but if I did by accident, I wouldn't want it to be from somebody's tutorial. Let's see, how long are we now? We're at 6 1/4. Probably by the time I add on that, we'll be 6 3/4. Won't have to go quite as long as the other one, but we're going to get pretty close to it. Being it smaller around. Not by a ton though. I mean, we did drop down a decent amount in size, 1/4 inch down to 3/16, but and then smaller wire gauge also, so I'm gonna put the wire. Let's see what else we're gonna be doing. Well, like I said, we've got the plan for next Monday, what we're going to do for a small project, or medium project night. I almost just want to do it, but I'm trying to hold off on doing it. I'll show it off Monday, the start of it. I guess I could just do one and do another during the stream. But I also got in a few other smaller shaped rings that I'm going to try to actually work into some pendant style things. I'm not sure if they'll work. That's something I got to play with too, so maybe that's what I can get myself occupied with instead. Let's see here. Just double checking, see if I'm missing anything. Say hello over to, I got 2 on Twitch here now, and might have lost my YouTube one, I'm not sure. But everything's going good, I haven't lost internet. Gotten lucky, I guess. Monday night we had problems before the stream, and it seemed to straighten out before the stream. Last night would have been right in the middle of the stream, we lost internet. I want to say it was about 6:30, and then they actually said on their website that wasn't going to come back till 10:30. I think we got it back around 10, so we got it back a little early, but so far tonight it's been good. That's why I'm almost half tempted to go to another internet provider. Spectrum's been driving me nuts. We've been with them forever, but I don't necessarily want to go with Google Fiber, but it's really the only other better one out there per se. I don't want to live in Google world. They're already too big. I still use them to do searching on occasion, but that still drives me nuts. There's some aspects of their searches that I like better than DuckDuckGo or Bing, or sometimes I still go back and use some of the really old Ask Jeeves. Well, I guess it's been a little while since I went and asked Jeeve anything. Actually, since it has been at least over a year. I don't even know if they're actually still around out there or not. But then there's a lot of other ones that, look like their own, but they're not. They're still tied into Google. Even though it doesn't say Google, it's still showing you Google results, so. But, I don't know. Maybe they would have better internet service. The only thing is, if I do that, probably should use a VPN anyway, but if I end up going Google, I'd probably want to use a VPN with it. I mean, I'm sure that Spectrum has enough tracking on it as is. I mean, they're a big company too, but I just don't want to have Google. Son wants me to, though. I think he wants it more so he gets better internet for his gaming. I do a little bit of gaming too, and it might make it a little bit better, but I have never really had a problem with any of the gaming that I end up doing. I don't do a ton, so it's not like his, but I still do on occasion. Used to do once a week on a Sunday night. I'd spend 2 hours racing with the team, part of the team I'm on for a racing game. We used to do a endurance race, and an hour practice and then an hour race. But that season came to an end, and so the only other ones on Friday nights that they do a team event on IROC racing, but I don't have enough time for a Friday night IROC racing. So lately it's just I'll put in something for a few just to play a couple quick rounds or whatever, be it Madden or golf or a racing game. Normally really haven't been online with it much. Still, I'm sure once winter kicks in, then there seems to have more stuff on the team side of racing. Once winter kicks in, people have less time to go out on the weekends because it's cold and snowy or whatever. I guess unless you're living in California or Florida, where you don't see snow. I like those snow days. It reminds me of the good old days of missing school. But I guess nowadays they don't miss school for snow days. I guess that's one of the things that COVID did, is get rid of snow days. So if there's ever a day they need to cancel transportation to the school, they still get on their computers to do their work. Kids will never know the meaning of snow days anymore. But I guess, again, if you lived in California or Florida and stuff like that, you've never had snow days. You have hurricane days, I guess. I think I'd rather have snow days than hurricane days. Or earthquake days, yeah. Let's see here. Where are we at? We're almost up to 8. Let's compare it to this one here, because I know I want to be... let's do 2 more, and then I'll put on my clasp end and see how we measure up. I thought I already had that one in there. That's why I measured it. I thought I was done with it. I guess I wasn't done with it. So, where are we at? Oh yeah, I still got 8 minutes to finish this up. That'll be easy enough. Might just end a few minutes early, I guess. Once we finish this one up. Oh, come on, flip back up that ring. Flip up. Flip up. So we'll do this, then I'll grab a clasp too. 18 gauge, I should be able to use my smaller ones. I've got 3 different sized rings. I've got 2 that can fit up to 1 point. Well, that one can actually fit 18 gauge square. And then I got my smaller ones. Looking at getting me a few more sizes of lobster class anyway for different things. And I've got several others that I've got for a few other projects I want to try here soon. Let's see here. Well, I guess I do have my super tiny ones. They barely fit. I don't think they will fit 18 gauge at all. I think they only fit 20 gauge and below. Make sure this is going to be the right size one. Ooh. There. Yeah. Figure I better check before I got done. And then I got some other regular plated ones that are nice and silvery, but boy, they tarnish up quickly. And so I really don't use those ones anymore. Yeah, that one. Larger than I would necessarily like, but it will do the job until I get the others in. I guess I need to finish up that order. So I got They were all stainless steel clasps that I've got on an order page. I just hadn't finished placing the order yet. But I've got several different sizes so that, give me more variety than what I currently have. Which I'd already have somewhat of a variety, but you can never have too many bindings, closures, whatever you want to call them. Clasps. I got some bar clasps. I got some of those S-Beaners. I got bigger ones, smaller ones of the kind of like whatever. I don't even know what they would actually be called now. Well, I do have. I'm not really cutter. I've got some powder coated ones that I use on some of my colored aluminum pieces, but some of the colors are a little off compared to the aluminum color, so I don't really use them too often there. I got some metal or magnet clasps that are okay, but I don't use them as often unless it's special request, because people have lost their necklace or bracelet because the magnets, they come apart fairly easy. They used to have magnet ones that you could also twist and lock in place. Those I would like, but I haven't been able to find them. I know I've seen them years ago, and but since then I haven't been able to find them again, which kind of sucks, because I like the magnet idea of them, but they can come off too easily, and if you're not paying attention, you could lose it without noticing it till sometime later, like, oh, it popped off. So I'd rather have it with a twist lock on it, so you wouldn't have that problem. So there's that one. Again, it's kind of gives you that get bend, but not a lot of bend. Let's see where we end up on this one. Well, just about 8, so we got that one pretty good right off the bat. So let me go ahead and see what camera are we on here. I'll put these two so you can see the difference between the two. Same AR, but different ring sizes and gauge. I wonder how close I can get to this camera. I've never really tried playing with this camera too much. I just have to wait for the YouTube or one of them to catch up with where I'm at. So I get too close, it gets a little blurry. I can see that now. So, and here's the start of the other one I did. It's going to be pink, or I guess this is the dark rose, sky blue, and black ice. I'm going to do them in chunks of 3. 3 of one, 3 of one, 3 of one, 3, and then flip back around and just do them like that. And then the other one, I'm going to do a smaller version. I'm actually wondering, let me see on my chart here, 20 gauge. Oh yeah, I've got the size in 20 gauge that I could do a 20 gauge version too, so maybe I'll do a 20 gauge version and do that one with the stripes going around so you kind of get the swirl effect. Maybe we'll try that on that one. So, but where are we at? 127. We're coming out about perfect. So, I do want to thank everybody again for dropping in, watching, either if it's live or if you're watching the video later. I thank y'all for doing so. Good to see you again tonight, John. The only comment I got was from John tonight. So, but I do know I had other people here watching, so I do thank y'all for doing that. Again, thanks for everybody for the orders that I've gotten. You can keep coming in. If you got any kind of special requests, just send me an email, shoot me off a message. We'll figure out something for you, try to get you what you're looking for. We will be streaming again tomorrow night at 7:30 Central Time. We'll be working on our chessboard. But check us out on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. That's our 3 normal streaming nights, all at 7:30 Central Time. And you can find us on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And so I thank y'all again for joining us, and I hope y'all have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.